everybody. Welcome back to another edition of Movies That Move We. Today we are discussing Mario Van Peebles' 1993 movie Posse. Now, what I remember, I was a young lady, quite a young lady back then, is 1993. I think people were excited about the movie. However, we are representative of the mood at the time that people had after seeing the movie. I'm cool with it. I like the story. I like the storyline. I didn't take it too seriously, meaning I wasn't sitting there looking for a perfectly aligned historical context. And I took the story for what it was and what the message was supposed to be for 1993, even though this story is taking place in the 1800s. Y'all's good friend Zenny here hated it. You know, right now we're doing the whole thing from what was that TV show? Living
Single?
Living Color. Living Color.
Mm-hmm.
You know, Blaine and Twan hated it, loved it. She's hated it. But anyway, go ahead, talk about why you just couldn't get with it.
I don't know. It's just like something that I wouldn't go out of my way to watch. It just wasn't really my cup of tea. It was like very actiony, and then like it had this layer of like this dude trying to be like vague with everybody and deep, and I just wasn't like, I was just like, dude, like what? And I don't know, maybe it was the time period that it was done in, which, not to say, I have a lot of movies from that time period that I love and think were filmed great.
How many of them are Westerns?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I just feel like this movie wasn't it for me. Like, I just feel like, I don't know if it was lacking something for me or what, but it just like something there were some comedic parts to it that were kind of funny.
Mm-hmm.
And that I could laugh at or whatever, but like as far as me being like, wow, that was a really good movie, and like I was not expecting to really learn or like experience this different vibe, because I know there is there were a lot of Black Cowboys, and I guess for me I was expecting to get like this real deep lesson on like the Black Cowboys and like their life experiences, and to a certain extent you get that, but I just felt like it was very like, I don't know.
I think the Black Cowboy thing, it was presented much like the other Westerns that we see, where it's automatically white people were cowboys.
Mm-hmm.
They're treating this like Black people were cowboys, period. Because it's true. The first cowboys were Black. White people didn't want that job.
Yeah.
You know? So, I think that's how they treated the film. They didn't feel like we need to get into a deep explanation of we were the first cowboys. They covered that with the paragraph at the beginning, and then at the end they had some pictures with some other information.
Mm-hmm.
But I think the movie itself was a true Western. You have the main character that has a mission.
Mm-hmm.
They're usually the very serious, take action, I gotta fix it, I'm gonna protect this one. Whatever their mission is, they're very serious about it.
Mm-hmm.
They have the folks that back them up, their posse, and there's usually somebody within the posse that's they act like they don't know what's going on, but they usually have the solution. And so you have that general building block. One of the things that I shared with Zenny is that this reminded me very much of Pearly Victorious. I saw the film once in my life. I haven't had the opportunity to see the play, which is running on Broadway right now. But Pearly Victorious, kind of like this, was talking about civil rights types thing. In 1800, it wasn't civil rights, but it was just about Black people post-slavery establishing their communities. You know, so just like we were talking about with Secret Lives of Bees, it's not something that's really talked about, how Black communities were established and self-sustaining, but that's kind of what this film was about. You have Mario Von Peebles' character, Jesse Lee, who, from what I gathered, he was already in the military. He went AWOL. They dragged him back and they said, "Oh, you want to run away? Guess what? You are conscripted for the rest of your life. Okay, you are now a career officer, whether you like it or not. It's this or get locked up in prison. Pick your experience." And so he went ahead and he did his job. He was in the Spanish-American War. He was in South America. When we finally meet him in the film, is he a general? I forget what his no, he wasn't a general. He wasn't a general. I think he was like a captain or something like that. But
yeah, but I don't think he was a general.
He was a leader of his small group. And of course, since they were the Black officers, they were put at the front line of the battle with limited supplies while the folks shooting at them had all the best weapons. So he got tired of it. He and his friends plotted to leave, or actually they were given an assignment that was really a setup. And they had no choice to leave, which Jesse Lee was going to leave whether there was an assignment or not. He was going to get out of Dodge. They fell into this situation where they were going to end up dead no matter what. They came across some gold, and Jesse said, "Bingo, bango, reparations. We out." And they took off running. The colonel took off running behind him. And that's pretty much the rest of the movie, the action that she's talking about, because every step of the way, they were dodging somebody, either the person behind them or the obstacle in front of them. Talking about Mario Von Peebles, his father was Melvin Von Peebles. They tend to do more, well, he does independent films, period, but they tend to do things that lean more towards art film. And I think that's probably where you were like, what is this?
Yeah, because I'm just sitting here thinking to myself, I want this movie to be redone. The actual plot of the film is not the problem. It's like what's going on. And I guess for me, like, I want it to be more in my feels maybe. And when I say that, I don't mean like I'm expecting this movie to be super drama and emotional. I'm not saying that. But it's like I wanted to relate to the characters and really like, you know, feel them out and everything like that. And really like, I don't know, because when I watch a movie, it's like I really like to connect with the characters. And I didn't feel that vibe. It was just kind of like, and then the main character, he just seemed kind of like
Mario Von Peebles. Again, he was the typical tough guy in the film. So it's like he's the one who had the mission. He got his buddies out and he was like, "All right, this is where I leave you." And they were like, "No, don't leave us, Jesse Lee. We want to help you. We're a team. We're a posse now." And he was like, "All right, fine. Come with me, but you're going to do what I say."
That part. And it was just kind of like, I don't know, like, it was just, I feel like if the movie was redone now with like a different production and all that jazz, I would probably like it 10 times more. And I could literally visualize each character and their actor. And I feel like it would be like a bomb film. Like, I feel like if this was done in this time period, they could even put like that whole futuristic cowboy thing on it.
Oh my God.
And I think it would even be better. Like, I don't know. But it's just kind of like, I just wasn't, and maybe it's because I'm not like a Western person. Because I will tell you, like, I do indulge in a lot of like older films as well. Like stuff that was done in like the 40s and stuff like that. Like, I have no problem watching older movies or anything like that. It's just that, like, Westerns have never really been my thing because it's always kind of like the same storyline for the most part. But it's just never really been my thing. So I don't know if maybe it's that or if it's like the way the movie was, like what my mom is saying, it was more of an independent, artsy kind of vibe. But there are a lot of films that I like that are artsy and independent. It's just like, it has me emotionally invested. With this movie, I did not feel emotionally invested at all.
And I can agree with that. I was kind of watching it like, oh, this is a nice diversion. Like you said, I didn't feel especially connected to any one particular character.
Mm-hmm.
I was just kind of watching the film as a whole.
Yeah.
You know, I'm not a big fan of Westerns either. The Harder They Fall, have you seen that one?
I don't think so.
It's on Netflix.
I've heard of it, but I don't think I've watched it.
I think you'd appreciate that film. That's one of the first Westerns I've seen that I was like,
I think I would have liked this movie too. And I know it's kind of completely outside of the box. Mm-hmm. I think I would have liked this movie with an all-female cast too. Like if it was female cowboys. Like I would have dug that a little bit more, which I think there was a film done similar to that.
I think we saw that.
Was that the Little Kim movie?
Little Kim had a movie?
Yeah, it was like, I remember that as a kid. It's very vague, but I feel like Lil' Kim was in this movie. It was kind of like a Western. I feel like it was her. I want to say Jada Pinkett Smith, but I'm not 100% sure. It was like, they were all women, but it was like in that, like, it was kind of like a Western type thing. I forget what it was called.
Are you thinking about Set It Off?
No.
Okay.
We got to look it up after we're done. But yeah, like, I literally was like, I could even dig it a little bit more if it was an all-female cast. Because I guess what maybe I was looking for, too, now that we're actually talking about it and getting it all out on the table, and because I'm so, like, unsure about my feelings about this movie, I think what it is for me is that it was very straightforward, like my mom is saying. It was just kind of like, this is what happened, this is what we did, this is how we got out of this bad situation, and that was that, you know? But I guess I wanted more, like, backstories on each character. I mean, they kind of, I know, what is his name? Oh my gosh.
Mary Von Peebles?
No. Can't find one here. The white character.
Oh, Little J.
Yeah, Little J, he kind of talked about how he got to where he's at a little bit, and I kind of was like, okay, I can see why he's rolling with the Black Cowboys and all that. Like, I got that, but then it was just kind of like, I didn't get that out of everybody. It was like with Von Peebles' character, it was just going into like these like flashbacks and memories.
That's how you figured out what.
But I feel like I wanted to see him like really break down and be like, this is what I went through. This is how I felt about this woman. This is how I was affected by my dad. It was just like I wasn't getting that emotion that I really.
No, but that I think that's that's where they needed it to be, because even though he was around all of these guys in his unit, they knew he was smart. They knew he knew how to sling a gun. You know, they knew he was about his business.
Yeah.
He wasn't sitting there reminiscing with them, which is what you see in some cowboy movies where they sit around the fire and they swap stories. He wasn't swapping no stories.
That part.
He was trying to figure his way out, period.
Yeah.
And once he figured his way out, he was like, y'all go on about your business. I'm going to go on about mine. Because he knew he knew what his plan was. He had a plan of revenge. And the flashbacks revealed all of that.
Yeah.
The flashbacks pieced his story together until he gets to his destination, which is the community that his father built. Everyone called his father King David. So he was trying to get back there to see what happened, because he remembered how, as they were building this community, I mentioned in the last review when we were talking about Greenwood, Oklahoma, it was a similar situation where you have Black people, they're building their community, And here comes the white folks saying, no, we don't want your kind here. And they're ready to burn everything down and beat the leadership to keep this message of empowerment out of this community that's budding throughout the film. And this is what I noticed. This is what the message was. Education is your, I forget what it actually said. Education is the key or something like that. That's what was over the church.
Oh, yeah, I remember that part, yeah.
Right. That was the message. So it's like, we're trying to teach you about what happened to these old communities that came up. We're trying to teach you about what kind of struggle it was, what they were up against. They're building a community and the Klan is running through and trying to destroy everything.
Yeah.
And again, this wasn't a film where you are seeing the brutality from the Klan. You're seeing white people beating up on black people every 5 minutes. You're getting flashbacks. You're getting faces in his face, people screaming, yelling, that kind of stuff. But for me, I don't think it was this high level of violence that'll make you go, oh my gosh, I hate these slave narrative type stories.
And I think that was the other part that was kind of bothering me too, is like, usually in films, I hate when they do that. I low-key hate when they do the whole snippet flashback throughout the film, and then at the end, it's explained. It's just like, explain this to me now, so I know what's going on. Like, it like bothers me, because then it's like making me like anxious. Like, what?
What? This is the person who I'll be watching something. We experienced this last week. She'll be like, I'm not into what you're watching. And then she'll be forced to watch it and be like, well, what's happening now? Why are they doing that? And it's like, if you are quiet for 2 minutes, you'll find out. They're about to explain it.
It's just kind of like, I don't know. I like to get to the point. But it's not to say that I've never liked a film that does that. I just think that
you have a preference.
Yeah, like, it's like, okay, I like when a film goes into the full flashback and tells me things.
You want one flashback and then...
Yeah, I watched Elvis and I watched the James Brown movie, the Get On Up movie last week. With biopics, they do that a lot. They do the flashback thing. But what I appreciate is you're giving me the whole flashback, and then we're going back to that period in life where that flashback was relatable. So then I get it. But when you're jumping around with all these, they're fire, and then oh my God, the KKK, and then I'm just like, and then I'm seeing a dead man on the ground. I'm just like, what is happening?
Well, I think again, independent film.
Yeah.
Independent.
The
film
love parts
budget.
were weird too. I don't know. I just couldn't get jiggy with the movie.
Yeah.
I felt like he didn't give that girl the way he kind of made it seem like he loved this girl. I just felt like I wasn't feeling that. Like, I wasn't like, oh yeah, that's his woman.
The love scene, it was kind of, I didn't feel like I needed an adult, but I kind of was like, I need an adult, but I'm the adult, and yeah,
it felt very much like, okay,
this is a performance.
Yeah, and it's like, it's kind of a thing where it was like, yeah, you knew that was his love interest. They have their whole, like, getting back together and chatting about things. And then they jump right into this hot, steamy sex scene. But there's no, like, emotion, or I don't feel like, okay, like, there's this, okay, them explaining their love and their bond.
Yeah.
How it actually, that love making made sense. It's like, it doesn't correlate to me. That's why I think it was just kind of like.
So I'll agree with you on that if they restructured the story, because it's a good story.
And I would
overall, it's a good story. If it was restructured
a little bit,
told a little bit differently, I think we could get over that 50-50 hump. We might be able to get to 60-70% of people liking it. You know, right now, Rotten Tomatoes is like, we're throwing this whole bushel of tomatoes at this thing. We don't like this.
See, I would have liked to see, like, Trevante Rhodes play the main character. I could just see it vivid as day. And he would give the whole, like, Smolder and, like, licking of the lips thing, and
But
he would
the
be
thing
like
is,
this mysterious
alright.
kind of dude or cowboy. But like then I feel like he
So-
would give me that emotion. That I
So late 80s, early 90s, Mary Von Peebles had a television series where he played a detective. I think it was only one season, maybe two.
Mhm.
I loved the show.
Okay.
Cool show. So when this came out, I was like, oh, yes, what? Because I had a big crush on Mary Von Peebles as a teenager. Oh my God, that man was fine. But anyway, so it was kind of like this was coming off of that. It wasn't too long before that he had done Mario Von Peebles. He had way more personality in the series than he gave himself in this.
Yeah, that's what it is. It's just like no personality. It's just like you're trying to be this like Billy badass, but then at the same time, it's like it's just not giving. Like I don't know. I hate being like this because I feel like I'm talking people out of watching the movie when I have the strong of an opinion.
Your real
but
point
it's
of view.
just like it needs to be remade. That's how I feel about it. It needs to be remade. And I feel like the storyline is great. It just needs to be remade. That's literally the only solution I can give. Yeah. Like, I don't know.
So the other thing that I appreciated about this, it reminded me of Harlem Nights.
Yeah, I could see that a little bit.
When we reviewed Harlem Nights, Don talked about this, how Eddie Murphy brought together a cast of the top-notch black comedians of that time. You had, I'm about to call him Fred Sanford, Red Fox. You had Della Reese. You just had a whole cast of...
Wasn't
Ronaldo Ray, I think, was in it.
Yeah, and wasn't he was like the main character in the movie.
Eddie Murphy?
No. Richard Pryor, right? Wasn't he?
Oh yeah, Richard Pryor also. So you had all these big names in there. And the same thing happened with this film.
Yeah.
So Mario Von Peebles pulled together a cast of popular actors, comedians from the 60s all the way up through the 90s. Blair Underwood was relatively a new kid on the block at the time. He plays a great villain. It's like nobody who looks that good should play a villain so well.
Yeah, he did a good job.
As
I will say I didn't like the movie overall, but he did do a good job, and I feel like Debo. I call him Debo. I feel like Debo did a good job
Tiny
too.
Lister.
Yeah, he did a good job too. But like
you had Richard Gant, Pam Grier, Isaac Hayes, Robert Hooks, Big Daddy Kane. I think this may have been his only film. But as I was watching it, I'm like, why isn't he in other stuff? Because I think he played his character of the gambler.
Yeah.
I think it came natural to him because that's kind of the swag that he has when he's rapping.
Yeah.
So, I'm like, that fit him, but I'd love to see him in some other stuff. You mentioned Tiny Lister. His character was funny because he's supposed to be Jesse Lee's bodyguard, and he'll show up and he'll flex and do all of this and scare the mess out of people, and then as soon as the bullets start flying, he's like, oh my God, Jesse, help me, they're gonna shoot me, they're gonna kill me. So that was kind of the funny moments were brought by him. Tone Loc was in it for like the first quarter of the movie. Aaron Neville was in there for a minute. He was the guitar player musician. Sally Richardson, Nipsey Russell, Woody Strode, and I'm forgetting a name here. Oh my God. It's like a really important person. It'll come back to me. I didn't write their name down. But it's like you had all of these names. His dad, Melvin Von Peebles, was in it. But you had all of these great actors and actresses that pretty much made up the community. And so when I saw that, I was like, wow, this is the same thing that Eddie did, pull together these great names. And several of these people aren't with us anymore, so it's kind of nice to have this space where they're kind of memorialized. Overall, like we we've been discussing, this is kind of a hit or miss.
Mm-hmm.
You either love it or you don't love it.
So 1 out of 2 people either like it or dislike it, basically.
Or 1.5.
Because then you say, wait, what percentage did it get on the Rotten Tomatoes?
I think it was like 49% like
See?
it, 51%
50%
were like
of people like it.
But also, I think this is kind of, I'm going to go ahead and call it a throwback classic.
Mm.
Only because during that time, that was the New Jack era. So you had New Jack City, you had Set It Off, you had all of the movies in that genre, the gunslinging, whatnot, showing up. And this was kind of in that space,
mm-hmm.
even though it used the American Western genre to tell its story. But it was of that time where it was like we were seeing black films all over the place, mm-hmm. whereas the stuff that already existed wasn't really appealing to my generation. This was there for us. It was speaking to some of the things that, as young high school and college students, we were like, how come this, how come that?
Mm-hmm. This
kind of fit at that point. So I think for folks from the late 80s, early 90s, it's like, this will be like, oh my God, I remember when this came out. Let me go watch it again.
Yeah.
And you may feel differently about it now than you did then. But
who knows? Yeah.
I say give it a watch. Give it a watch. I don't think it's a horrible movie. Mm-hmm. We both agree there wasn't this big connection to any particular character. Mm-hmm. I happen to think it's a good story. She thinks it's a good story. She just doesn't like the way the story was told. Yeah. So, check it out. I downloaded it on Vudu, now Fandango at home. It's about, an hour and a half? Mm-hmm. It's about an hour and a half long, so you're not going to be sitting there all day trying to struggle through it. But definitely check it out. We'll be back next week. What are we doing? Zola?
Yes. Zola.
Okay. Now, coming off of the Who TF Did I Marry? This is going to be okay. All right. So we'll see you next week with that. And until then, have a great week. See you Sunday.
Bye.
Bye.